दोस्तों बुजुर्गों, गुज़िश्ता कल हम हज़रत मौलाना बिलाल साहब के साथ उनके पीछे पीछे उनकी खिदमत में एक प्रोग्राम में गए थे। रॉचडेल सेंट्रल मॉस्क, बड़ी माशाअल्लाह शानदार मस्जिद है, बहुत बड़ी मस्जिद है, अच्छी मस्जिद है। तो प्रोग्राम था ये इस्लाम और गेम्स और यंगस्टर्स को गेम्स जो है उसके बारे में कुछ हिदायत, फैमिली लाइफ इम्पोर्टेंट। तो वहाँ मशवरा ये हुआ क्या, हमारे यहाँ भी चूँकि छुट्टियाँ हैं, बच्चे भी घर पर हैं, तो वही बयान यहाँ भी करें, बच्चों को फ़ायदा हो इंग्लिश में। अब पता नहीं अनाउंसमेंट कुछ हुआ नहीं हुआ, खैर ये हमारे शेख शरीफ के बच्चे बैठे हैं, थोड़ी देर इंग्लिश में बात करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है। तो वही बातें जो कल हमने वहाँ की थी रिपीट करते हैं। वैसे थोड़ा बहुत उर्दू तो समझ लेंगे इंशाल्लाह, थोड़ा थोड़ा समझेंगे, नहीं थोड़ा थोड़ा नहीं समझेंगे, चलो ठीक है। कहीं नहीं चल रहा, इंग्लिश में बोल रहे थोड़ा है। अच्छा, आप यहाँ बैठ के तर्जुमा करेंगे तो फिर बहुत देर हो जाएगी। हाँ, डिस्टर्ब होगा, पीछे जाना पड़ेगा, सामने ट्रांसलेशन में गड़बड़ हो जाती है। बैठो नहीं आप आराम से, जज़ाकल्लाह खैर। So yesterday we had a special program in Rochdale about computer games and gave some hidayat with regards to mobile, internet. Some people are addicted to internet and then play games. What are the harms of games? What is the benefit of game and what is the nuqsan and harm of the games? So we made mashwara to repeat those things here as well. Make dua. Allah gives us tawfiq to say something which is beneficial for all of us and Allah accepts from us. We mentioned that the first thing we need to remember is number one, the purpose of our life. Why did Allah create us? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah didn't say لِيَلْعَبُونَ, so that people play games. Allah said لِيَعْبُدُونَ, so that people worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Main first point, purpose of our creation is Allah's ibadat. Therefore, the more ibadat we do, the greater we are fulfilling our purpose of creation. And what do we get by ibadat? When we do ibadat, what do we get? First thing we get is Jannat. One Bedouin asked Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, أخبرني بعمل يقربني من الجنة ويباعدني عن النار. Tell me action, amal, which can get me closer to Jannah and take me far away from Jahannam. And Prophet ﷺ said, Ta'budullah wa la tushriku bihi shay'a wa tuqimu as-salat al-maktuba wa tuaddi az-zakat al-mafruḍa wa tasilu ar-rahim. Ibadat without shirk, salat, zakat, most important, and joining relations, family ties. So this will take you to Jannah. So when we do ibadat of Allah, we get Jannat. and you know the description of Jannat. Read Quran Hadith, how splendid Jannat is, how beautiful Jannat is, how expensive Jannat is, how luxurious Jannat is. Just to say, Prophet ﷺ said, if you get one space which is equivalent to throwing a whip in Jannah, is better than the whole world, whatever it contains. यानी एक कोड़ा डालने की जगह. You know, when people go in Tabligh Jamaat, when they get in masjid, they rush and look for the best spot and throw their sleeping bag there. Right? That's what we used to do when we used to go as well. So this is my spot. So that one sleeping bag space is mine for the 3 days while I'm in the masjid. So this is what they used to do when they're riding on a horse, and when they want to camp somewhere, they look for the best shade under the tree and throw their whip before they get off the back of the horse. And then they get off the horse, and where that whip is my spot. So Prophet ﷺ explained that this amount of space in Jannah is better than dunya wa fiha, better than billions, trillions, and not only that, becoming the owner of the whole world. This is how beautiful and splendid Jannat is. Ajib, Jannat is amazing. When you do ibadat, what you get is Jannat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number two, when you do ibadat, you are fulfilling Allah's haqq on you. It's Allah's haqq that we do His ibadat. Sayyiduna Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu was riding on a ride behind Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked him, Ya Muaz, and he said, Labbaik ya Rasulullah wa sa'daik. Ya Muaz, Labbaik ya Rasulullah wa sa'daik. Ya Muaz, Labbaik ya Rasulullah wa sa'daik. 3 times. And like he is right behind him. But he's asking this question to keep him alert. So he listens attentively to what is being said. Then he said, Atadri ma haqqullahi ala ibadihi. Do you know what is Allah's haqq and right over the slaves, over the whole creation, human beings? And he replied, Allahu wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Rasul know the answer best. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, أن يعبدوه ولا يشركوا به شيئا. Allah's haqq over the creation is that they worship Allah and they associate nothing unto Him. And then he asked another question. أتدري ما حق العباد على الله إذا فعلوا ذلك? Do you know what is the haqq of Allah upon the slaves when they do this ibadat properly and without shirk, without riya, ikhlas, sincerity in ibadat? What is their haqq on Allah? And he said, Allahu wa Rasuluhu alam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, Allah yu'adhibahu. Then the public's haqq upon Allah will be that Allah does not give them any azab. Allah will not punish them. As long as they keep doing ibadat, Allah will not punish them. Allahu Akbar. Something comes to my mind here. That this word Allah yu'adhibahum could not only be connected to akhirat, connected to dunya as well. Do you see what I mean? When a person does Allah's ibadat properly, Allah will not only save him from punishment in akhirat, Allah will save him from punishment in dunya as well. आप देख लीजिए, दुनिया में भी जो इबादत गुजार होगा उस पर अल्लाह का अजाब नहीं आएगा. अल्लाह हिफाजत करेंगे, अजाब से बचाएंगे। कोई तकलीफ आए, बीमारी है, जैसे हमको बुखार हो गया, नज़ला हो गया, ये तो इम्तिहान होता है, टेस्ट होता है। तो पैगंबरों पे भी आया था, पैगंबर को गुनाह नहीं करते थे, पैगंबर को अल्लाह अजाब थोड़ी देते थे। तो पैगंबरों का इम्तिहान होता था, उनके दर्जे बुलंद होते थे। अंबिया अलैहिमुस्सलाम, they used to worship Allah so much, they used to get some taklif. That was not azab, that was test. That was to elevate their ranks. So, beautiful hadith. When you do Allah's ibadat, then you are fulfilling Allah's haqq. And then your haqq upon Allah will be that Allah does not give you any azab or any punishment. Allah protects you. A deep protection from Allah. May Allah protect us. Believe me, if the whole world was to start doing Allah's ibadah as they should, then we would see a different kind of world. Muslims would be elevated. We wouldn't be going through that humiliation and disgrace which we are going through. So, the main purpose of our creation is not playing games. The main purpose of our creation is doing ibadat. Now, how much ibadat should we do? Only faraz namaz? And that's it? No. We have to pray the sunnats as well. We have to read the nafils as well. We have to do zikr as well. We have to do tilawat of Quran Sharif as well. We have to give sadaqah, khairat, mali ibadat as well. We have to fast and keep roza, faraz and nafal. We have to give faraz, zakat, sadaqah fitr, wajib, and qurbani, and sadaqah nafila as well. We have to go for hajj and umrah whenever we can, if Allah gives us wealth as well. And we have to do amr bil maroof, nahi anil munkar, wa'az, tabligh, nasihat, advice, preaching, teaching. It's all Allah's ibadat. The more we do, the better for us. So, first point is the purpose of our creation is ibadat. How much ibadat we should do? As much as possible. As much as possible. Look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Observe his life. How much ibadat he used to do. How many namaz he used to pray. How much tahajjud he used to pray. Ishraq, chash, tawwabin, nawafil. And going around reading Quran to people, teaching Quran, teaching Masla Masail, Amal bil Maruf, Nahi anil Munkar, going out in the path of Allah, elevating the kalima of Allah. That is also the greatest form of ibadah. And he was a very brave man. So he was doing all forms of ibadah. Now, today we have so many distractions from this purpose of our creation. And one of those distractions is this mobile. It distracts us. It doesn't let us do ibadat of Allah. Believe me, huge distraction, huge distraction. Doesn't let us pray namaz, doesn't let us read Quran, doesn't let us do zikr. In fact, doesn't let us eat or sleep properly. Our own basic needs. Sometimes on the phone we feel the need to go for istinja and we think, abhi jata hu, abhi jata hu, abhi jata hu, kitni der ho jati hai. Pishab roke rehte hain. You stop your urine and istinja for so long before you go to istinja. And this brings illnesses in our body. So what we need to do is bring a little bit of change in our lifestyle. We need to understand that too much mobile is no good. And if we are always hooked to the headphones and listening to music, then we could suffer hearing loss. If we are always on mobile, we could suffer information fatigue syndrome. Too much information is out there. Too much information. If you're always on your mobile, the information you get on there is equivalent to reading 174 newspapers a day. Can you read that many newspapers? That's how much news you get on your mobile. And if you're always on it, you're feeding all that information into you, and majority of that information is a lie, jute, fabrication. And it's being fed to you, drummed into you. What's going to happen to your brain? And then as technology is moving, we are into 3D viewing sickness. We have 3D viewing sickness as well. That we are watching too much television, and now that Metaverse is coming and you put them massive goggles on your head, and then inside there you're in your own world, and you can go to Makkah Sharif in there, and you can do your Hajj in there as well, you can do your Umrah in there as well, you can touch Hajar Aswad in there as well, you can go and pray in Hatim in there as well. The other day, the Turkish council got together and gave a fatwa that if someone goes for Hajj on the Metaverse, then his Hajj will not be fulfilled, it's not counted. He has to go in real life. That means in reality, you go in there and you perform everything, Hajj, Umrah, Tawaf, Sa'i, pelting stone, Rami, Jamarat, everything on that Metaverse. So this 3D viewing. Now, this is on the good side. On the bad side, movies, films, acting, games, whatever. And this is 3D viewing causes sickness. Then there's blue light insomnia. You don't have any sleep pattern. Because in the mobile, there is blue light in there. And it gives a signal to the brain that it is the blue sunlight, and the sun is still out and it's not night time and it's day. So your mind is confused. You don't know what's going on, whether it's day or night. So you can't sleep. Dr. Zakaria Goga Sahab says that at least 45 minutes to 1 hour before you go to sleep, you have to put your mobile on one side. Then you will get proper deep sleep. And we go to sleep with mobile under our pillows. Last thing we do is check our mobile. First thing we do when we woke up is check our mobile. This is what's ruining our health. So we have this blue light insomnia, no sleep patterns, and then phantom phone vibration. Another health problem which is connected to it, phantom phone vibration. It has special vibration in there, and that also causes damages to our body and our health. Now, with regards to games, we talked about games yesterday. Boys play games on mobiles. Not only boys, grown-ups also play. Sometimes you are sitting on before we've not been traveling for last 2-3 years now, but at the airport, in the aeroplane, you see American Buddhas and Buddhis, oldies, they're playing games. Old men, 70, 80, they're playing games like small kids and trying to win. So these mobile games, now we want to talk a little bit about it. Are there any benefits in the games? Are there any harms in there? Now remember, those who created the mobile phones, they'll never tell you. They'll always say it's good for you, it's good for you, it's good for you. And if there was any research, they'll put it down because they've spent billions on making the mobile. So every industry which makes something needs to make money. So whoever forms or makes a critical study, they just shove it aside. It's not brought on the media, no newspapers, no TV station, no news will ever tell you, inform you about these studies. So we have to ask the experts. And Quran says, ask the experts. We ask those who are experts of these games. I texted one of my friends in North America. I said, when I go, I stay at his house, and I used to see his son always on the mobile, on the computer. Whenever we go, he's on the computer. He has to be called, Chal bhai, khawa chal, come on, come down to eat. And he would just meet us. Sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't eat with us. He would just go back to his room straight away. Now, Alhamdulillah, he's got a job, he's married, settled down. So I texted him. I said, can you give me some tips? I've got to do this bayan about games. And he said, okay, I'll send you some points. I said, look, I want some pros and cons. फायदे और नुकसान. गेम खेलने का फायदा क्या है वो भी बताओ, गेम्स खेलने का नुकसान क्या है वो भी बताओ. And he said, okay. So he texts back the pros and cons. Benefits, he says, keeps you away from the streets, especially where the area is not good and there is risk of getting caught up. Away from the streets, because when you go out, there's lots of bad things on the street. Gang culture, drugs, sharab, alcohol, knife crime, gun crime, everything out there. So if you fall in the wrong company, you're going to be like them. So if you stay at home, then at least you're staying away from that bad company. At least you're doing something. Your parents can see that you are inside the house. You're not doing anything silly stuff. Secondly, he said that some games help your ability to think, problem solving, training the mind. Some games do have problems which you have to solve. And some games train your mind as well. They help your ability to think, strategy. They are strategic games. Games are of two types, action games and strategy games. So action games, you're always on the move. And strategy games, you have to think carefully before you make your moves. So he said some games help your ability to think and use the right strategy and solve some problems and provide some solutions, and they train your mind. So this is benefit for some games. Maybe this is why Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi said Shatranj would be allowed for those who use it for training their mind for tactical moves in warfare, in battlefield, in jihad fi sabilillah. Because sometimes you have to make the right moves. One wrong moves and your whole army could be wiped out. So in warfare, you have to take the right route, make the right moves. So sometimes Shatranj helps you to understand that. So maybe in these games, there might be a little bit of help to broaden your mind, train your mind. This could be a little bit of benefit. Two benefits he wrote. He wrote third one as well, but I didn't note that here. Then he wrote the cons. I think it's included in the thing. The nuqsan, harms of computer games. He says it eats up all your time. And sometimes it's too addicting. You end up forgetting to pray your namaz. At least he was a good boy, he used to pray namaz. So he says sometimes you end up forgetting to pray your namaz. Sometimes you think that, okay, just one more game, and you end up there 2 to 3 hours. You realize, oh, it's already 12 o'clock, midnight. Now, time, we have said many, many times that time is our most valuable asset. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. By the time mankind is at a loss, everybody is losing out. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Except for those who do four things: Iman, Amal Salihah, Tawasi bil Haq, Tawasi bil Sabr. Otherwise, we are losing out. So, when you play games, you are wasting your valuable time. If you play for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, chalo half an hour, and then you pack up, samajh mein aaye, chalo all right. But if you play for hours and hours and hours and hours, your life is melting away. You could have done something constructive during that time, but no, games waste too much of your time and you get addicted. You forget to pray namaz. Your namaz becomes qaza, and when namaz is qaza, you get gunah on your shoulders. So try to control your habit with regards to games. Number two, distracts you from many valuable things in life, especially your study, your education suffers. When you have a habit of games, mobile, PSP, I'm not talking about dirty games, right? Like Sin City, Grand Theft Auto, Fortnite, where you have to kill people, rape, commit rape and loot and rob banks and shoot and not talking about those games. You know these things are haram. Also games in which have full blood blast musics and songs in them. And always, you know, क्या कहते हैं जोर जोर से वो drum in your, it's like heavy drums ringing in your ears. That music is there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about normal games, strategy games, but still they distract you from valuable things in life. Your education suffers. This is why education is going downhill. You know a sign of education going downhill? Exams are becoming easy. Why do the examination board makes exam easy and easy? Because you know education. Imagine there was a time when British Raj had rule over India and they made their own private colleges and universities in India, and exam papers was sent for marking from Bombay to London, and then the exam reports were sent back to Bombay. There was a time and now what happens is our examination board sends their papers to mark to India. So people sitting in Madras and Bombay, they mark our Ofsted papers. The level of education has gone down because kids are always on the mobiles. Parents can't control them. So mobiles and games distract you from the valuable things in life. Number three, it harms the ability to converse with others. When I started working, I realized the damage. It took me years to fix it. When you're always playing games, then you lose that ability to have a meaningful conversation with someone. You don't like talking to anyone. You can't sit down with someone for 2 minutes and engage in a conversation. Even if your relatives come, like your parents call you, beta, आ जाओ, मामू आए हैं, चचा आए हैं, फूफी आई हैं, दादा आए हैं, दादी आई हैं, uncle, auntie are here. So you don't want to come. No, no, I'm playing my game. I'm busy. I'm busy. बेटा आ जाओ ना, मुलाकात कर लो ना, please come and meet. आएंगे, सामने को, and back up. So you can't say. Whereas in the previous eras, when our relatives used to come, oh, mamu aa gaye, chacha aa gaye, poopa aa gaye, dada aa gaye, and kids jumping, in their laps and having a nice time, and everybody eating meal together, and chacha, dada, daddy giving nice advice, nasihat, having a lively conversation. But this family life is fading away. Kids who are always on the games struggle to engage in a 2-minute conversation with someone. My friend's son, I gave him Farzi name, Adam. Adam says, when I started working, I realized the damage it had done to me. Because when you work, you have to talk to the colleagues around you. So he said, it took me years to fix it, to bring myself to the level where I can engage in a long conversation with the other person. So computer, mobile, it harms you in this regard. You just can't talk to anyone. Number 4, it could harm your physical condition. I suffered neck and back pain due to sitting on PC for too long. Hannah. Now, he's an intelligent boy, mashallah, tall and healthy, but he says because of sitting on PC for too long, I suffered back pain and neck pain. And sometimes you are always using mobile, so your hand, your wrist starts hurting. I'm saying this because I've been through it. So then I realized that doctors have told me this, so I have to behave now properly. So it harms your physical ability. Number 5, if you get too competitive, you forget about everything else besides the game. बहुत ज्यादा उसमें अंदर चले जाएं, जीतने लगे, आगे बढ़ जाएं. If you go ahead and you start winning lots of things, then you forget everything else besides the game. Even if you went for istinja, you paused it, you can't wait to get back. You don't even eat properly. Even while you're eating, your mind is there. So when you get too competitive, everything else, you forget everything else besides the game. And this is what he said, 5 points. I added chatha number. 6th number, it could lead to gambling. When you start playing for money, then you end up losing everything. Computer games lead to gambling as well. Many of our youngsters gamble, believe it or not, and they lose a lot of money in gambling. They earn a lot, but they lose a lot as well because of gambling. So computer games have led many people into gambling. This is what my friend Adam wrote in the text with regards to games. Its benefits and harms, little bit of benefit in there, lot of harms. Reminds me of the verse, وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. Their sin is greater than their benefit. This was one of the first verses regarding alcohol, that the harm is more than the benefit. And a wise man will look at the harms and avoid the little bit of benefit. Because harms are more, just leave it altogether. Leave the mobile phone, leave the PC, leave the computer games, leave all these gadgets if you can, avoid them. Value your life, use your life for something good, study hard, become a good hafiz, good alim, khadim, da'i, and become someone, be a nice person, be an asset for the society. I was reading the other day that China developed TikTok. They're not stupid. They knew that they send this around the world and people will be stupid enough to do stupid things and put those stupid videos on there and make money out of there, and this will make them less constructive. They won't think of doing something which is good. They'll always be putting, and these people will become stars, and people will look up to them and try and be like them. This will put the country down and destroy the country. And it doesn't allow TikTok in its own country. It wants its people to progress, move forward, and study and learn. So there are many politics behind it as well, behind these games and these mobiles and technologies. You must have heard that video of Iftikhar Ali, seen it, that the Dr. Iftikhar Ali Saab was talking about the effects of screen addiction. When you're always on the screen. So he says, it's easy to give up the addiction of alcohol and drugs than it is to give up the addiction of screens. शराबी के लिए शराब छोड़ना, ड्रगी के लिए ड्रग छोड़ना ज्यादा आसान है बनिस्बत स्क्रीन एडिक्ट के लिए स्क्रीन को छोड़ना. जिसको इसका एडिक्शन हो जाए उसके लिए इसको छोड़ना बड़ा मुश्किल काम है, बड़ा मुश्किल काम है. अल्लाह पाक इसकी एडिक्शन से हमारी हिफाजत फरमाए. वो लिखते हैं, इफ यू स्मोक 10 cigarettes in 5 minutes, then the dopamine it produces is equal to the one produced by a game of just 2 to 3 minutes. And in 10 मिनट लगातार सिगरेट पिए, नहीं 10 सिगरेट 5 मिनट में पिए, दमादम. Within 5 minutes you smoke 10 cigarettes. Then it gives you a special boost. If you were feeling sleepy and you have a fag, your sleep goes away. Your mind is alerted and you start working again. Sometimes we see some people in Ramzan, as soon as they do iftar, they have to rush for their fag. Even if they're in i'tikaf, तो नमाज के बाद इमाम साहब ने जो लंबी सूरत पढ़ी तो उनकी जान निकल जाती है. जल्दी खत्म करो नमाज, और सीधे बैतुल खला में, सारे बैतुल खला उसमें खुशबू आ रही है सिगरेट की. तो ये बिकॉज दे कांट टेक इट, उससे उनको आराम मिलता है. तो ये जो हमारे जहन के अंदर एबिलिटी है हमको मोटिवेट करने की, बूस्ट देने की, हमको एक्टिव बनाने की, इसको अंग्रेजी में डोपामीन कहते हैं. It's called dopamine. This motivation, the neuro faculty in our brain which gives us that is called dopamine. Now, if you smoke 5 minutes 10 cigarettes, then the dopamine it produces is equal to the dopamine produced by 2 to 3 minutes game. It gives you that much boost. It's so fast. Now, it has physical harm, emotional harm, mental harm, which is greater than the smoking of cigarettes. Because imagine how many planes will the child bring down? How many people will the player kill? Because you're always killing. You're always bringing planes down. And then you want more and more. And as you play, you are rewarded. The game rewards you. You become stronger. You get more new ammunition. You get new weapons. And then you want to go and fight and you want to kill here and you want to do this and you want to loot that. So it gives you that dopamine, but how much? Where is it going to end? Then Dr. Sahab says, when you know it gets, it wants more, but it can't have any more, then the brain gets frustrated. And this frustration results in boredom. जब आदमी बहुत खेलता है तो फिर वो उसको और चाहिए, लेकिन जब नहीं मिल रहा तो वो फ्रस्ट्रेट हो जाता है, बोर्ड हो जाता है. तो फिर उस बोर्डम को खत्म करने के लिए भी कुछ चाहिए. डॉक्टर साहब कहते हैं कि मेरे पास एक दफे एक खातून आई. दिस लेडी केम टू मी with a 4-year-old girl who was always addicted to mobile games. 4-year-old girl addicted to mobile games. So she said, Doctor Sahab, Zara, can you talk to her, please? But I'm a GP, I'm not a psychologist. No, please, doctor, please talk to her. Okay, Doctor Sahab said, Beta, तुम्हारा क्या मसला है? And she says, Doctor Sahab, मैं बोर हो जाती हूँ. I get bored. And Doctor Sahab said, 4-year-old girl, वो कैसे bored हो जाती है? She should be playing, she should have lots of toys in the house, playing with the toys, dolls, whatever, running around, jumping, बच्चे खेलते हैं ना बाहर rope के ऊपर, skipping, things like that. So going in the park, having fresh air. This is the types of games she should be playing. But she gets bored. Why? Because she plays too much and she wants more. She can't get enough, so she gets bored. And then Dr. Sahab says that, the risk of this is that when the player, whether he or she, gets bored from these computer games, then they will go outside and fall in the wrong company and do this, fulfill this need and this craze in real life. Real looting, real murder, real rape, and real robbing and stealing and theft. And after watching movies like Gone in 60 Seconds, Fast and Furious, Reservoir Dogs, all these types I mentioned yesterday, long time ago, I read in the paper that in Reservoir Dogs, the actors, they kill one of their friends slowly by chopping his body to pieces and give him painful death. Now that's just acting. It's camera tricks. But watching that movie, some youngsters only 14, 15 years old, they decided to do that with one of their friends, and they somehow tricked him, took him to some place, and then killed him in exactly that same manner which the actors did on the film. So this is what happens because they are bored and they want to do something and they go out and do it. And I mentioned one incident from Bolton, our area, Farnworth area. चलो मैं छोड़ में नहीं गया था, नाम ले लिया इसलिए मैंने, वरना मैं क्या था. ऐसा हुआ, यहाँ से बेचारे डाउन साउथ गए थे. तो down south they went and there was some disagreement, argument, and 16-year-old kid brought a gun and shot his uncle dead. They see these things, and I don't know where they get these types of weapons and everything from, but this is real life case. So computer games do affect our brain, our mind, our thinking capacity. There is more harm in it than benefit. This is why we say control your viewing, control your playing, be mindful. Now, we need to do something, bring some change within us. How can we bring this change within us? Let's say, bichara, someone who's got into it, is addicted to it, he wants to give it up. How can we give it up? Number one, first, the person has to appreciate that he or she does have a problem. Gaming problem, mobile problem, screen problem, being on the screen too much, wasting time too much. You have to admit the problem. Without admitting, you can't bring any change in you. So sit down and admit that, yes, I have this problem. Let's say if someone is unwell and he doesn't know he's unwell, he's not going to search for a cure. This friend, young, healthy, used to drive vans. Now he used to start getting a bit fatigued and tired and drinking water every now and then, couldn't understand what's going on. His friend said, "But check yourself out." No, I'm all right, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm all right, there's nothing wrong with me. And one day, whilst he was driving the van, he started losing his consciousness. He parked on one side and he fainted. And they took him to doctors. Doctors said his sugar level was too high. It was 28 at that time. They could have died. So they took him hospital and slowly they brought his sugar level down. And Alhamdulillah, he was cured, Alhamdulillah. Now, when he didn't know, he didn't admit that he has a problem, he never searched for the cure. But when he admitted, he realized that he does have a problem, then he looked for the cure. So, if you don't admit that you've got an addiction problem, you're not going to look for the cure. You have to admit. And how can you admit? This mobile, it tells you how many hours a day you spend and how many hours a week. Right? Check how many hours you are spending on there. Are you spending on the mobile 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day? If you are, then nearly half of your day is going on the mobile. You do have an addiction problem. If you're playing too many games, your parents say, your brothers say, your siblings say, that means you do have a problem. When you realize that, number one, then number two, you have to gain some willpower and strength to fight that addiction. What you need is a strong willpower, right? Like when you want to detoxify your body, if you have, fat in your body and you want to trim your body, then you have to go through some vigorous training and dieting. So you want to detoxify your mind, your brain, cleanse it, clean it. What you need is strong willpower, the will to do something. So when you have that will, right, where there's a will, there's a way. So you have to have that will to do it, and then you will do it. Then, number three, some steps which you need to take. For example, make a habit of switching the mobile off at sleep. Totally. It says on one of the health websites, don't use your mobile as an alarm clock. Have a real alarm clock, which we used to have, that big one, tick, tick, tick. Put your mobile off. Number three, it says don't use mobile on the table, meaning at meal times. Put the mobile away. The whole family should be sitting together. Everybody should be eating calmly, nicely together. No mobile at eating times. Number four, it says there that at times just put mobile on one side and go out for a walk. Just go out, relax, go into the nature. Get some fresh air. And then it says, Do some exercise. Exercise does you good. Sometimes people say do yoga. Utari. Yoga is a form of worship. So avoid that. Instead of yoga, do muraqabah. Get bayat to a sheikh and do zikr, azkar, awrad, muraqabah. The mobile away. When it's your ibadat time, zikr time, tahajjud time, dua time, tilawat time, then do what you need to do. So when you take these few steps, it is then that you will be able to unchain yourself, disconnect yourself, detach yourself from this cycle of going too much on the mobile and this addiction of the mobile, addiction of the games. There are some advices for parents as well, that parents should pay special attention to their kids. Always look after your kids. Pay special attention to their behavior, their growing up. If they are playing games, establish boundaries. Boundaries. Time limit, what they can watch, what they can't, what they can play, what they can't. Make boundaries. Make some cutting off points. Sometimes put alarm clock on the mobile after half an hour. When the half an hour goes and the alarm goes off, take the mobile away. Finish. Your time's up. So pay special attention to your children. Establish boundaries. And if you see some change in their behavior, sit down with them. Talk to them. Know your kid. Every parent should know their kid more than anyone else. You should know your kid more than the teacher. So start talking to them, know them, and finally, if you can't bring them under control, seek help. There is help out there. Go on some websites for help, and if there is some, क्या कहते हैं उसको, rehabilitation centers, get them to those rehabilitation centers. Like in drugs, we take a rehabilitation center, alcohol rehabilitation. Similarly, for this addiction, game addiction, there are rehabilitation centers as well. So use them, but you have to do something, and for yourself as well. Sheikh Suleiman Mullah was mentioning in his talk, I heard yesterday in the ladies' bayan, that drug abuse is so bad that he said in South Africa we have rehabilitation centers and we have 15-year-old boys who have to be made to wear nappies. 15-year-old boys, because they've been having so many drugs that they've lost control over their bowels and their urine, they can't control it. And many are sent home and their parents look after them. And we've had cases where they try to kill their parents. So he said, this is the state of affairs, 15-year-old boys. So, society out there is leading to vice. Remember, Shaitan is our eternal enemy. He's never going to let us sleep in peace, or he's not going to give us any sukoon, itminan. He's always going to be attacking us in whatever way he can. We have to be very careful. We have to remember this world is not a game or a play. It is real, and whatever we do, we have to give account of it to Allah on the day of Qiyamah. We read those couplets, जगह जी लगाने की दुनिया नहीं है, ये इबरत की जा है, तमाशा नहीं है। तुझे पहले बचपन ने बरसों खिलाया, जवानी ने फिर तुझको मजनू बनाया, बुढ़ापे ने फिर आके क्या क्या सताया, अजल तेरा कर देगी बिल्कुल सफाया। जगह जी लगाने की दुनिया नहीं है, ये इबरत की जा है, तमाशा नहीं है। यही तुझको धुन है रहू सबसे बाला, हो जीनत निराली हो फैशन निराला, जिया करता है क्या यूं ही मरने वाला, तुझे हुस्न जाहिर ने धोखे में डाला। जगह जी लगाने की दुनिया नहीं है, यह इबरत की जा है, तमाशा नहीं है। ये दुनिया ये फानी है महबूब तुझको, हुई वाह क्या चीज मरगूब तुझको, नहीं अक्ल इतनी भी मजजूब तुझको, समझ लेना अब चाहिए खूब तुझको। जगह जी लगाने की दुनिया नहीं है, यह इबरत की जा है, तमाशा नहीं है। So we need to learn from these Nasa'ih and understand that this world is only temporary. Keep the ayat in mind. كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. Every soul shall taste death, and you will be repaid in full for whatever you did on the day of Qiyamah. Then whosoever is moved away from the fire and admitted into Jannah has succeeded. And the life of this world is nothing but a brief enjoyment of deception. The millions and billions are only a deception. How many people have died and left millions behind, only for others to lavishly spend them and throw them away, and they will be giving the hisab, and here the others are enjoying it. So it's only a deception. Don't fall for the dunya. Do what we need to do, especially this mobile addiction, games addiction, and what we have in front of us. We should try and avoid it. May Allah protect us. And especially from filthy stuff, pornography, bad movies, videos, photos. That's even worse. May Allah protect us, our eyesights. May Allah give us haya, sharam, modesty. Today they say, क्या है वैलेंटाइन डे है, हमारे यहाँ वलण वाले कहते हैं वेलण टाइम डे, वेलण लगाओ। किसी ने कहा था, जोक भेजा था कि वैलेंटाइन डे मीन्स वेलेंटाइन डे। सुबह को हम मॉरिसन गए थे, तो हमारे आगे कोई था, तो उसने कोई कार्डिगन खरीदा हुआ था, फ्लावर्स खरीदे हुए थे। मैंने कहा ये किसी बुड्ढी को शिकार करने के लिए ले जा रहा है, किसी को खुश करने के लिए। हमारी घरवाली भी साथ थी, मैंने कहा दूध ब्रेड लेके चलो आगे जल्दी जल्दी, और कुछ नहीं मिलेगा। बेचारी ने कुछ मुतालबा किया नहीं, लेकिन मैं ऐसे ही जोक किया, देखो वो जा रहा है, लेकिन हम तो अपना दूध ब्रेड लेके चल दिए, जो कुछ फ्रूट थोड़ा बच्चों के लिए लेना था। लेकिन ये है इनके यहाँ, ये वैलेंटाइन डे जाएगा, फिर मदर्स डे आएगा, फिर फादर्स डे आएगा, फिर ईस्टर आएगा। बेचारों को इसी में बिजी रखते हैं गौरव को। अल्लाह हमारी हिफाजत करे और खुराफात वगैरह से बचाए। इंटरनेट और उस पर जो फितरे हैं, मेटावर्स और जो कुछ आ रहा है, उन फितरों से भी अल्लाह हमें बचाए। ये मेटावर्स का तो मैंने पहले बयान किया था, आपको याद होगा। वो गॉगल पहनते हैं, फिर उसमें they buy and sell land in there as well. And yesterday I received something from Mufti Faraz Adam Sahab, on 2 hours lecture about Zakat on things you buy and sell on Metaverse. है ना, बिटकॉइन का मसला था ना, कि बिटकॉइन पे ज़कात है कि नहीं। अब ये है कि मेटावर्स के अंदर में वो आप पहनेंगे, फिर यू गो इनटू योर ओन वर्ल्ड and you buy properties, you sell, you make money, and you have to pay virtually from your bank account. Direct money will go from your bank account, you pay for it. So your real money is going, and you are buying plots in a virtual world, unreal world. So in an unreal world, you are paying money for buying something in an unreal world. Now, if you buy those things in that metaverse and you make money on there, maybe you are getting something from there in your account as well. Do you have to pay zakat on those properties which you bought on the metaverse or not? अब मुफ्तियान किराम आर डिस्कसिंग दीज मसाइल. तो ये आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, हम तो बुढ़े हो रहे हैं, बाल गिरी हो गई, अब पाँव कमर में लटक रहे हैं. पता नहीं ये जवान लड़के हैं, ये आएंगे, इनके पास और ऐसे ऐसे मसले आएंगे. अल्लाह फितरों से हमको बचाए, कुछ दीन की खिदमत करने की तौफीक भी अता फरमाए, कबूल फरमाए, अल्लाह हमसे राजी हो जाए. वाखिर दावाना अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन, सल्लल्लाहु वसल्लम अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद व आलिहि व सहबिहि अजमईन बिरहमतिका या अरहमर राहिमीन. सुब्हानकल्लाहुम्मा व बिहम्दिक, नशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्ला अंत, नस्तगफिरुका व नतूबु इलैक. अल्लाहुम्मा अन्फअना बिमा अल्लमतना व अल्लिमना मा यनफअुना व ज़िदना इल्मा. अल्लाहुम्मा इन्ना नस्अलुका इल्मन नाफ़िअ व अमलन सालिहा व रिज़्क़न वासिअ व शिफ़ाअन मिन कुल्लि दा. अल्लाहुम्मा अग़निना बिल इल्म वज़य्यिन्ना बिल हिल्म वअक्रिमना बित तक़वा वजम्मिलना बिल आफ़िया. अल्लाहुम्मा इन्ना नऊज़ु बिका मिनल फ़ितन मा ज़हर मिन्हा व मा बतन. या अरहमर राहिमीन, महज़ अपने फज़्ल व करम से हम सब की मग़फ़िरत फरमा दीजिए, पूरी उम्मत की मग़फ़िरत फरमा दीजिए, रहम कर दीजिए, करम कर दीजिए, मुआफ़ फरमा दीजिए. हर किस्म के फितनों से हमको बचाइए, ज़ाहिरी बातिनी, छुपे हुए खुले हुए, नज़र आते हैं नहीं नज़र आते, सब फितनों से हमें बचाइए. या अल्लाह मोबाइल के फितनों से बचाइए, गेम्स की फितनों से बचाइए, हमारे इन मासूम बच्चों की हिफाजत फरमाइए. या अल्लाह हमें राह रास्त पर चलने की तौफीक अता फरमाइए. हमारी टूटी फूटी दुआएं सुन लीजिए. रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम व तुब अलैना इन्नका अंतत तव्वाबुर रहीम. सल्लल्लाहु व सल्लिम अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद व आलिहि व सहबिहि अजमईन बिरहमतिका या अरहमर राहिमीन.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. सलामुन अला इबादिल्लज़ीना इस्तफ़ा, सलामुन अलल मुरसलीन. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन वंज़िल मक़ामल मुक़र्रब इंदक. अल्लाहुम्मा रब्ब हाज़िहि दावतिल क़ाइमति व सलातिन नाफ़िअति सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन वरज़क़नी रिज़क़न ला तस्क़तु बअदहु अबदा. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन अब्दिका व रसूलिका व सल्लि अलल मुअमिनीन वल मुअमिनात वल मुस्लिमीन वल मुस्लिमात. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन व बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन वरहम मुहम्मदन व अला मुहम्मद कमा सल्लैता व बारकता व रहमता अला इब्राहीम व अला आलि इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. व बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम व अला आलि इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. व बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम व बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम व बारिक अला मुहम्मदिन व अला आलि मुहम्मदिन कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम फिल आलमीन इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अज़वाजिहि व ज़ुर्रिय्यतिहि कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम व बारिक अला मुहम्मद व अज़वाजिहि व ज़ुर्रिय्यतिहि कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मदिन व अला अज़वाजिहि व ज़ुर्रिय्यतिहि कमा सल्लैता अला इब्राहीम व बारिक अला मुहम्मद व अला अज़वाजिहि व ज़ुर्रिय्यतिहि कमा बारकता अला इब्राहीम इन्नका हमीदुम मजीद. اللهم صل على محمد النبي وأزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وذريته وأهل بيته كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما ترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما ترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم تحنن على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما تحننت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما سلمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم على محمد وعلى آل محمد وارحم محمدا وعلى محمد كما صليت وباركت وترحمت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم. اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وبارك على محمد النبي الأمي كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد صلاة تكون لك رضا ولو جزاء ولحق أداء وات الوسيلة والفضيلة والمقام المحمود الذي وعدته وزينا ما هو أهل وزي أفضل ما جازيت نبيا عن قومي ورسولا عن أمتي وصل على جميع إخواني من النبيين والصالحين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل علينا معهم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى أهل بيته كما باركت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك علينا معهم. صلوات الله وصلوات المؤمنين على محمد النبي الأمي. اللهم اجعل صلواتك ورحمتك وبركاتك على محمد وآل محمد كما جعلت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وصلى الله على النبي الأمي. التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات والسلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. التحيات الطيبات الصلوات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. التحيات لله الطيبات الصلوات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله. سلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. سلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. بسم الله وبالله. التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أسأل الله الجنة وأعوذ بالله من النار. التحيات الزاكيات لله. الطيبات الصلوات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. بسم الله وبالله خير الأسماء. التحيات الطيبات الصلوات لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وأن الساعة آتية لا ريب فيها. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. اللهم اغفر لنا واهدنا. التحيات الطيبات والصلوات والملك لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله التحيات لله، الصلوات لله، الزاكيات لله. السلام على النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. شهدت أن لا إله إلا الله، شهدت أن محمدا رسول الله. التحيات الطيبات الصلوات الزاكيات لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. التحيات الطيبات الصلوات الزاكيات لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. التحيات الصلوات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. التحيات لله، الصلوات الطيبات والسلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. بسم الله والسلام على رسول الله.